Let's take a step back in time just for a moment, shall we? We'll go back to the days before computers were ever invented. You're off to an important meeting. What do you take with you? Likely a notepad or a notebook, something to write with, a pen or a pencil. During the meeting, you write down ideas, jot down notes, maybe even sketch out drawings or diagrams. After the meeting, if you need to share any of that with somebody, you probably run it through some kind of copy machine. Well, these days we've got computers. But here's the interesting thing. Most people still take some kind of notepad with them and something to write with, and they jot down their ideas and sketch out their drawings. The only difference is when they get back to their desk, they're likely going to take that information and get it into their computer somehow. Maybe it's scanning diagrams or retyping text that they wrote down on paper. Well, if you've got OneNote and you've got some hardware technology as well, you can simplify, streamline that whole process thanks to OneNote and something we call pen mode. If you've got a tablet PC, for example, or even a tablet plugged into your computer, in pen mode, you can write things down just like you would with an ink pen or a pencil. And here's the neat thing, OneNote can even recognize that writing and convert it to typewritten text if you needed to share that with others. Same thing goes for drawings. So with a tablet PC where you just flip the screen around and start writing things down on the screen, you could take that to your meeting, no paper, no pen, just your computer. It has everything you need for the meeting as well as the ability to jot things down. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about creating different kinds of notes using pen mode. We're going to talk about ways to convert handwriting, even printing, into actual text. And we'll look at ways for you to clean up your page as well by selecting objects or using the eraser tool to erase things on your page. First thing, though, we need to do is get comfortable and familiar with pen mode. So you can see here, I don't even have a notebook open at this point. We're just going to practice with our unfiled notes. So unfiled notes, the only thing selected down here. I've got a brand new untitled page. So if you'd like to follow along, click the new page button. If you've got a tablet PC, you're ready to go. If you've got a tablet plugged into your computer, you're likely ready to go. If you don't have either of those, you can still try to follow along using your mouse. You can go into pen mode with a mouse. It's a little more difficult to write things down or print with a mouse, but it can still be done. Okay, here on my blank page, I want to go into a pen mode to start handwriting. Now, right now, you can see as I move my mouse around, I've got that I-beam. That's because the tool that is selected by default, and we've been using it throughout this title, is our Type Text and Select tool. We use this to type text and select existing text or objects as well. Now, what I like to do if I'm going to be using a tablet and a stylus, also called the pen, I might want to display some of the tools that come in handy when using that type of hardware. There are writing tools and drawing tools that you can have at your fingertips just by turning on the appropriate toolbar. So let's do that. We'll go up to View, down to Toolbars, and over here on the right, there's our standard and formatting toolbars. They're turned on by default. But we've also got drawing tools and writing tools. Even something called My Pen. So if there are certain pens you like to use, you can create your own little toolbar full of the pens you prefer to use most often. Let's go down to Writing Tools, though. We'll turn that one on. Mine appears here underneath my standard toolbar. You can see there's lots of buttons to choose from. If your toolbar just showed up way over to the right-hand side, I'm going to move this with the four-sided arrow on the left there and up. You might not be seeing all of your tools. So just go to the very left-hand side where you see those dots. When you see the four-sided arrow, click and drag it. I'm just going to drag it over a little bit so I can see all of these tools on the Writing Tools toolbar. You can even drop it down. I like to do that, have it underneath my standard toolbar. The other toolbar we're going to turn on is from the View menu down to Toolbars, the Drawing Tools. And when we choose those, typically they'll appear across the bottom of your screen. But you're going to see a lot of buttons in common with the writing tools. Quite often you don't need both. It depends on the pen mode you prefer. I'll talk about that momentarily. Right now, though, let's go through some of these buttons. Here you can see I've got a pen. Here's where I go from the drop-down to choose the pen that I want to use. Do I want to write or draw using a thin black line or a thick green line? Or would I rather use this like a highlighter? create my own custom pens. I could do that as well. I'm going to make sure black thin is selected. It is the default. If you're going to be drawing things, you've got some buttons here for line color, currently selected as black, and the thickness has a drop down as well where we can choose from predefined thicknesses. 0.25 is the default. We've got some selection tools. The lasso tool allows you to select objects, handwriting and drawn objects, for example. Or if you want to erase things, there are different erasers to choose from. There's the tool we use by default, the Type Text or Select Objects tool. We can delete, we can create or insert and remove extra writing space. We can show or hide ruled lines. If you're accustomed to taking notes on lined paper, you can turn that on or off right from this button. And here's a neat one we'll look at later on in this chapter, converting handwriting into text. Now if I go down to my drawing tools, you'll notice I've got that same Type Text or Select Objects tool. I've also got my lasso, my eraser, delete, insert or remove extra writing spaces. There's my pen. I've also got some lines and arrows and some shapes like rectangles, ovals, triangles, and so on. And then I get over here to the line, color, and thickness buttons that I saw up in the writing tools. You may not want both of these toolbars open at the same time, but I don't mind having them both. There's a couple of differences between the two. All right, so let's make sure that we've clicked on pen mode. All of a sudden, that I-beam we're used to seeing, ready to click and start typing text, has disappeared. If you've got a tablet PC or you've got a tablet plugged into your PC with a stylus, you're ready to start writing or drawing, whatever you want to do. Remember, the pen mode is important. So let's go up to Tools and down to Pen Mode. And over here you can see we've got the ability to do both handwriting and drawings. That's the default pen mode. You could also limit yourself to just handwriting and use some of the tools on the drawing tools for creating drawings, so you don't have the ability to hand draw things. Or the opposite, just use your tablet for drawings and not recognize handwriting. I like to have both on so I can do both. We'll make sure that's selected right there. Now the only other option on this menu is not a pen mode, but rather you could use your pen as a pointer. Think of it as a large screen presentation where you've got a pointer, like a laser beam pointer. Now you could use your pen like that if you wanted to. But I'm going to keep it at create both handwriting and drawings, and I'm ready to start doing exactly that. So if you've got a mouse and you want to try it out, go ahead. If you've got the tablet, perfect. If you've got the tablet PC, you flip your screen around and you're ready to start writing right on the screen. So right up here near the top, I'm going to print the word important. There we go. Now that's printing and I'm using all caps. Down below, I'm going to do a little bit of writing this time. Call Jim. Now this does take some practice regarding next meeting. Okay, now the neat thing about OneNote, you can see how messy my handwriting is. It's pretty close to my real life handwriting. If this is very difficult for anyone to look at, we do have the ability to convert text or convert our handwriting into some easily readable text. We're going to talk about that later on in this chapter. Right now, let's switch over to drawing some things. To do that, first thing I'm going to do is go up here to my pen. And I'm going to change it. Right now, I've got that thin black ink being used. I'm going to go down to green thick right there. Perfect. Now with my stylus, I can start drawing things. So for example, if I wanted to just sketch out maybe the floor plan for our conference, I might put the stage down here and maybe different seating sections. This would be the middle section. There we go. I'm going to do one more section out here. And it's not perfect, but I get the idea. I can even print in here. Stage. Great. Now if I wanted to, I could use my drawing tools down below instead. I do have some options here. So for example, if I go over to the rectangle, I can still continue to use my stylus to draw the rectangle. There it is. And maybe I'm going to go to a triangle here. Now when I draw the triangle, you can see I don't have much option here. It's just going to be pre-drawn for me. It kind of snaps into position. If I want to move that, well, I can't really do it with my stylus. So that's why sometimes hand drawings are better, and you can get shapes that just aren't available on your drawing tools. So we're going to leave it like that for now, and we're going to switch back to our regular type text or select objects mode. And when I click on that, you can see what's happening down below here. Each of these, as I hover over them, you can see there's some different objects here, and some of them I can't actually click on like an object. So there are different ways for us to move these around and erase them, for example. Some of the things we're going to talk about in the next lesson.